Hey guys, it's Jen Lefforge. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're here today. Today's video, we are going to be talking about Disney Vacation Club and planning your very first Disney Vacation Club stay. And I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so before we get started, I want to make sure you know that today's video is being sponsored by our great friends at DVC by Resale. We have used Chantel and her team to both buy and sell a Disney Vacation Club contract. They are professional, they are the Disney experts, and they will give you all the advice you need and really hold your hand through what can feel like a super intimidating process. So if you're in the market to either buy or sell your Disney Vacation Club contract, make sure you give them a call. I will put all of their information in the show notes below. So I hear from a lot of you that are brand new Disney Vacation Club members that you're just a little unclear on the whole process when you go to plan your first DVC vacation and you're not really sure how to approach the whole thing. Well, this was a really easy video for me to plan out because we literally just did this. We just bought an additional contract at Old Key West and I just made our first reservation there for January where we will be going as an entire family. The process looks a little bit different than when you book through central reservations with Disney. So the first thing, of course, you'll need to do is to navigate your way around the DVC member website. DVCmember.com is where you'll go. You can't actually log on until they've given you your membership number, which usually takes a couple days after closing. And then once they give you that number, they'll also give you an initial access code, I believe, to be able to log into the website. There you can set up your password, you can manage your annual dues, you can look at how many points you have. And in the dashboard, it will tell you how many points you have for the current year, any points that you have banked or borrowed, and all of the points that you have coming up. And this is a really great resource for planning. All of the point charts are on there. So you'll spend a lot of time when you first join just learning the ins and outs of the member website. I actually really like it. They've made quite a few improvements to it over the years. It used to be that I almost always called to make our reservations. We first joined in 2012. And now you can pretty much do everything on the website, including modifying reservations, banking, borrowing, all of that. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I actually want to break this down for you guys into actual steps of how we plan our DVC trips. So the very first thing you're going to want to decide is when do you want to go? Now, I know that seems obvious, but you're going to want to plan, if possible, 11 months in advance. So typically about 12 months in advance is when I'm looking at the calendar. And I know a lot of you are saying, I can't do that with my job. And that is completely understandable. That does not mean you're not going to have a great trip and that you won't be able to figure this out. But ideally, if you can plan for 11 to 12 months out, that will give you the most availability at your home resort so that you're sure you get the dates and the type of accommodation that you want. The other reason planning that far in advance is good is because there are different seasons in the Walt Disney World point charts. Lots of different seasons, adventure season and choice season and magic season, and the points vary greatly between the different seasons. So you'll want to figure out, is there maybe a time? We like to go in January because it's a very low point time. Obviously, the highest times of the year are going to be like Christmas. Summer is actually surprisingly low. So familiarize yourself with that calendar to figure out when are you going to get the most bang for your buck to be able to let your points, to make your points go as far as they possibly can. So the number one thing is to figure out when you want to go. Once you've figured out when you want to go, then you have to figure out what size villa do you want. And this may not be as easy to figure out as you think, because sometimes even if there's only two of you, you may decide that you want a one bedroom because maybe that trip you plan on cooking a lot, or you really want, maybe it's a Run Disney trip and you really want to have a washer and dryer in the villa. We have really gotten spoiled and we love our stays in one bedroom villas or larger. My last Run Disney trip with my friend Sarah, we actually stayed with just two people in a 2-bedroom villa, but it was amazing because we each had our own room. We had a full kitchen. We had a washer and dryer. I mean, I will admit it did feel a little bit ridiculous, but just think about the kind of trip that you're going to have. And maybe this is a trip where a studio is all you need, or maybe you want to consider a 2-bedroom, or maybe something like a treehouse villa or one of the grand villas. There is such a variety of options. A lot of that obviously will depend on how many points you have available to use. And again, that is all available to you as a member through the DVC member website. Keep in mind, especially if you're new and you haven't quite figured out the whole banking and borrowing thing, you have your current use year points, but you may also have points that you can borrow from the following year, and you may have points that you've banked from the year before. So there is a way to look on there and see what your total amount of points are that are available to you. And when you go to book your reservation, this little pop-up thing will come on that will walk you through that to make sure that you use your points to your best advantage. But you technically, if you have banked and borrowed, could actually have 3 years worth of points for one vacation. So that's why it's good to kind of think through, okay, maybe this year you're going with a big party and you're thinking you're going to do a 2-bedroom, but then you realize maybe the following year you need to just stay in a studio. So all of that depends on how many points you purchased initially, but also if you've banked or borrowed. There is also a banking deadline, which is the date by which you must have banked any points you don't plan on using for that particular year. Our contract is December and our banking deadline is July. So by July, we have to have banked any unused points. Otherwise, if you don't use them, you lose them. And I hate to see people who don't really understand how the system works, who end up losing points because they just didn't know that they expired or that they had to use them by a particular time. I'll also talk briefly here about there is a difference between a dedicated villa and a lock-off villa. And everyone's like, well, what the heck is that? A lock-off villa is actually, for a 2-bedroom, is a 1-bedroom with a studio that is combined. There will be a separate entrance for the studio portion, and there'll also be a kitchenette in the studio portion. That will also always mean, and the different resorts are different, but that will also mean that your studio room has a sofa bed and a regular bed as opposed to 2 beds. There are a few of the resorts, Old Key West is this way, I think maybe Boardwalk is this way, Beach Club is this way, where if you get a dedicated 2-bedroom, the studio portion, so the 2nd bedroom, will be 2 beds as opposed to doing a lock-off. So kind of do some research. If you're traveling with all adults, right, a lock-off may be preferable because you want them to, the other studio to be able to have their own key and the kitchenette and all of that. So just do some research into that before you go to book your reservation so you know which one would be better for your particular trip. So the third thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and book your trip, right? You figured out your dates, you figured out what size villa you want, you've done your research, and you're gonna go ahead and book your trip. Now, the easiest way to do it is obviously to do it through the website. It has been made very easy to search through multiple resorts, but if you're booking 11 months out, which is the ideal situation, you're only limited to your home resort. So that's actually pretty easy because there's only one resort is going to come up. You're going to be able to go to your dates, figure out what you want. When I did this just recently for our January trip, my very first choice was available, which was Old Key West, 2-bedroom, dedicated, near hospitality house, which is not, it doesn't require more points, but it is a separate booking category and it's pretty tough to get if you don't own there. So I was really happy to be able to get that and it's squared away. Now, here's where it gets a little bit trickier. We are actually hoping to stay at the Boardwalk this trip because it's a Star Wars kind of focused trip. The boys love the Boardwalk. So it's 7 months. I already have it marked on my calendar right when reservations open online, which I believe is either 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. I'll double check and I'll put it right here. I'm gonna be going in and seeing if I can switch that reservation to a Boardwalk 2-bedroom. Typically, 2 bedrooms at 7 months out are pretty available, so I feel pretty good that we'll be able to get it. But if for some reason we're not able to book that, I'll be able to do something called waitlisting. Now, a waitlist is where you basically tell Disney, if this room category becomes available, will you please book me for that instead? When you sign up your waitlist, you also tell the computer that there's another reservation that you would like the waitlisted reservation to replace. So I would put in there that if the Boardwalk comes available, I would like them to cancel my Old Key West reservation and book my Boardwalk reservation. It can all be done online now, which is super convenient. Sometimes I'll call just because I get a little weirded out. I want to make sure I don't accidentally get my whole reservation canceled. But you can do it all online and it's very, very simple to navigate. And when you're physically on the website, it will be really easy for you to see. After all that is done and you've made your reservations and it's all done, you also have options to add on things like the dining plan, which yes, there is an availability to do the dining plan even without purchasing a package if you're a DVC member. And you actually get kind of a discount on the dining plan. And the reason it's kind of a discount is because you don't pay a holiday pricing as a Disney Vacation Club member. So even though a lot of the restaurants charge more and the dining plan is more during particular times of the year, you always pay the same price as a Disney Vacation Club member. And we've gone Thanksgiving a couple of times, and that is the one time when the dining plan actually can save you money, even though I'm still not really a fan of the dining plan. But run the numbers and see if that particular trip for you, that might be a better option. The other thing you can do on the DVC member site is request Magical Express. They will then send you an email to confirm it. So really everything that you've normally done through the Walt Disney World website, you'll now do through the dvcmember.com website. And then there's one last thing you have to do, and that is to link your DVC reservation to your My Disney Experience account, because you're still going to do Fastpass, dining reservations, and all of that. You can do it, I believe, through the DVC member website, but I always just link my reservation number and I put it into My Disney Experience, and then everything comes up, and then it's just like any other Disney World vacation you've ever done. You can share your plans with people, you can make your fast passes, you can make your dining reservations, you can use the app on your phone. Everything at that point is exactly as it always has been. They are very helpful if you get stuck in any of this. If you call them, it is not like when you call regular Walt Disney World, at least not in my experience, where if you call Walt Disney World, you can be on hold for 4 hours sometimes. Not usually, but sometimes. When I call the DVC member line, I usually get either someone within 10 or 15 minutes at the most. They're super helpful. And if it is your very first reservation, that might be a good idea, right? To just actually talk to a cast member. And you want to make sure, especially if it's your first reservation, I did find out there's a thing called the Welcome Home Advantage, where if it's your very first reservation, even if there is no availability, they can help you find availability at the resort that you want. So make sure you call them and ask about that if it's your very first time making a reservation using your points. That was a lot. I hope it was helpful. I hope I was clear. Trust me when I tell you that once you get logged onto the DVC member website, all of those things are going to make a great deal of sense to you. And it really does become kind of a fun place to go. Even if you purchased resale, you still have access to all of the same things through the DVC member website. And it will tell you through there things that you're not eligible for. But of course, the website still works the same for everybody. You will love it. Congratulations on your purchase of Disney Vacation Club. Welcome home. And thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day. And thanks again to DVC by Resale for sponsoring today's video. Again, if you're interested in buying or selling your DVC timeshare, make sure you reach out to them. I will put all of their information in the show notes below. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.